Hello there, only one Kenobi here, only one. I was going to be quite cheeky and bypass doing a little review on The Mandalorian. However, Cryo Boy, if you're watching, this is for you. Because he commented and he said, are you going to talk about The Mandalorian? Chapter 10 is it now? And I think I will. Because it was really good. I watched it on... Friday. And, you know, as ever, I got nervous. I get worried in case it's going to be rubbish or it's going to dip. Because the previous episode, number 9, with the Krayt Dragon was awesome. So, the first thing you saw in the episode was Zero. And I thought, what am I watching this? So I turned Disney Plus on and I thought, what is this? Have I pressed the wrong one? Because Disney Plus has a menu, season 1, season 2. I actually thought I'd clicked on episode... Is it 6 or 7, the one with Zero? And they break out the... Yeah, episode 6. They break out of the Republic ship. I thought I'd done that. But no. At the start of the episode, they give you a flashback of Zero. And you think, well, why? Why that? But anyway, then they show you, they recap where we're up to, and they showed the Krayt Dragon and all of that business. And you find out later why they flash back on Zero. It was a brilliant episode, really good. So dark in places, but we'll come to that later. I love the relationship that they have, the Mando and the child. The first sequences, they're on Tatooine, and so I thought to myself, oh, we are going to see part 2 of Boba Fett. But no, you don't. You start on Tatooine, then they move on. But I was fully expecting them to come back to Tatooine and conclude this whole Boba Fett saga at the end of the series, which they probably will now. But speaking of which, there's talk of a Boba Fett series. Do you want that? I don't. This is the Boba Fett series. This is the Mandalorian. This should include anything to do with Mando, our new Mando, Din Djarin, and then anything that ties in with other Mandalorians like Boba Fett. You know, so I heard this rumour that they were going to do a Boba Fett series. Well, why would they do that? I mean, they could, but would you want to watch that? We all love Boba Fett and stuff, but don't you feel that your Boba Fett box is getting ticked with this? You know what I mean? Anyway, so that's a separate issue. So they get ambushed by these guys. One of them's a Nikto. There's a little guy with a mask on, very, very reminiscent of, Force Awakens type scavengers. And he is talking like a Jawa, and I thought, is it a Jawa? And it is, I think. Is that what a Jawa's face looks like? What with the 2 little things that he's got on his mask might be the lights that light up that you see. But I don't know. I thought Jawas had faces like rats, and that's why they wore the cloaks. So anyway, there was quite a funny little sequence there. Then they move on. He gets down to the... He loses his jetpack and his speeder bike gets wrecked because of the ambush. And then he gets to Tatooine and he ends up going into the cantina at night time. Now, I think this is the only time we've seen Mos Eisley at night. Let me know what you think. I think we've seen Mos Espa at night time, but never Mos Eisley. So that was pretty cool. He goes into the cantina. There's a cool tune in the background, something different. So that's really good. I like the way they introduced a new segment of music in there. So you've got the good music from the original trilogy, then you've got like the brilliant music of Dryden Voss's Yacht, and then you've got this. And the music in the underworld of Star Wars is awesome. So inside the cantina is a cricket guy, and that is supposed to be a nod, I think there was a cricket in the cantina. Because, Mark Hamill famously says in those interviews, about how crazy that scene was in 1976 or whenever they shot it. And I'm sure there's like a cricket thing that's sort of like in the extra features of the, behind the scenes footage. But I remember that cricket being green, like green eyes, like typical kind of fake looking prop. But this still looked kind of fake and take it with a pinch of salt kind of design. But kind of a weird thing. And they all sat around, I presume they're playing Sabak. A couple times, yeah. You played before? That was pretty cool. They end up having food, like it's kind of a nod to Galaxy's Edge. They cook that Krayt Dragon meat on the Pod Racer engine, which was pretty cool. That's like a nod to Galaxy's Edge. Never been to Galaxy's Edge, but I know they've got a Pod Racer engine cooking meat there, and a droid cooking it or circulating it or whatever. So she basically sends him off on a little... He's still on his quest to find other Mandalorians or whatever, so she sends him to a system. She also puts this creature with him, this kind of frog toad thing. It reminded me of Mr. Toad from Wind in the Willows, actually, this creature. So it was quite... I quite liked it. I thought it was quite a sweet creature. I liked it. I had an affinity with it, from my childhood watching Wind in the Willows, the animated one, voiced by David Jason. So she needs to take her eggs to another planet, something to do with the equinox, to get them fertilised. And then he says, he's so great, Pedro Pascal, in this, so subtle. At a taxi service. I love the fact you can't see his face, his subtle body movements and everything. Such a character, man, and he's coming out of his shell more and more. You're learning about him, and again, and his relationship with the child. Going back to the ambush, I can't remember if I said it now. When he gets the Jawa steals his backpack. God, I'm going backwards here. The Jawa steals the backpack. Off runs the Jawa, thinking he's got a score. He's got the jetpack. He turns on the jetpack, sends it off in the air. The Jawa just hits the floor, and the child looks up at Mando with such affection, you could like almost to say that was cool, So I love that. Such a great relationship between them. With the eggs and the child, you sort of almost feel something spiritual going on because the music is beautiful. This mystifying music that's been composed by our man. Off they go on their little mission. And he looks at them and you hear the music when they're on Tatooine. Then it happens again on the ship. And the child is fascinated by these eggs. And you think, what is going on? Is this something to do with his force sensitivity? The child goes over to the eggs, puts his hand on them, uses the force to draw them closer to him so he can have a closer look, I guess. The next thing is he's trying to eat them. It's so funny. It's nothing mystical at all. It's just he's hungry. This kid eats anything. It's so funny. And he's like, hey, stop. Nap time. Not food. Don't do that again. It's great. So they can't travel by light speed. That was the thing. They can't travel or transport these eggs via light speed. So they go subspace or whatever. So off they go. And obviously because it's going to take a long time, he says, we need to go for a nap, get some sleep. He gets the child after he tries to eat the eggs, goes to sleep. The next thing is that they're woken up by an alarm. And it's a load of X-Wings. And I love this. You see the bad guys and the good guys. It merges here. They are the new order, basically. So the two X-Wings, even though X-Wings have always got positive connotations, you think of the good guys. They're just asking standard questions. Who are you? Can you prove you're not Empire? And then the next thing is, like I just did then. He's avoiding their questions, and you can see that they go into attack position, basically. And then a chase ensues. So then he decides to bail, and he goes, yeah, we got a runner! And then off they go after him. One of the cool things as well about the cockpit is that when they're sat together, Mando and this, toad creature, frog thing, she's talking in this weird voice like this. And he says, I don't understand, frog. Do you speak Huttese? Allah? Abeva? Or something, what does it say? Haleva? Some languages I've never heard of. If you've known, it's probably from comics, they're very subtle how they've blended in expanded universe stuff, so that's quite good the way they're doing that. And then they end up sort of like chasing the Razor Crest on this ice planet, and it's pretty gnarly, it's ducking and diving all these massive ice mountains and stuff. And to put a long story short, too late, there's a nasty crash. The Razor Crest does a maneuver, he kind of loses the X-Wings, but then this in itself looked quite a bad crash, a couple of collisions and bangs, and you think, well, it's not going to do the craft any good to do that. And then he goes skidding across the ice and crashes. I think he puts his engines on to kind of slow the momentum, but it's too late, bang, into a wall kind of thing. Then after that, the ice beneath collapses, and then down he falls into this cave, and you think, oh my god, the spacecraft is messed up. How the hell are you going to get out of this? Everyone's unconscious, he's asleep, they wake up. The lizard frog thing's shivering. He says, I'm going to go and get a blanket for you. He finds the kid is eating the eggs again. That was so funny. So it's all happening, it's a pretty nasty situation. Really bad crash. And then there is a hull breach. So when you see in the trailer how the Razor Crest is absolutely messed up, well, this is the reason why. It's what happens. It gets really nastily banged up in this crash. The frog thing starts to try and talk to Mando again. He says, I don't understand frog, or I don't speak frog, or whatever. They decide to go off to sleep again to get some rest, because I think they've patched it up for the short time. They do a little kind of camp like Empire Strikes Back. I'm going to talk about Empire again later. I hope I don't forget to, because I was getting mad flashbacks for the Empire Strikes Back when I watched this episode. He wakes up And Zero, the droid, who the Mando still has his head in the cargo hold, starts to speak, "Wake up, Mando! Get up, Mando!" Oh, and then that kind of crazy voice of his. And you think Zero's being reactivated, but no, it's not. It's the frog creature speaking, using Zero as a translator. "I have recalibrated this droid's voice modulator so you can understand me," or something like that. So basically he's telling the Mando that we can't wait till morning, we need to get moving now, because otherwise my race is going to get made extinct. You know, aren't you a man of honor? Help me out, you know, you're supposed to be a Mando, or what are the stories of Mandalorians with honor? They just stories for children kind of thing. Using the code against him. But anyway, he decides to help, he starts to try and patch things up. And then the child walks around the corner when sort of like Mando's outdoors fixing some stuff on the ship. And then he's sort of like talking to him, like, and he's like saying, you know, follow me. He's like, come on, make yourself useful, come and help me. And then he sort of like walks off and he follows him, Mando. He's like, where are you going? And then they shows him the footprints. The little frog thing has sort of taken off, walked into a cavern. So they follow the creature into an ice cavern, and then they see it inside the water, which is kind of like a warm bath, you know, a thermal bath or something like that. Keep him warm. It's got its eggs all out inside the water as well. I presume just helping the incubation or whatever. And then he sort of encourages, he says, come on, get out of here. You know, I can't protect you here. So, but then the funny thing is, and this is crazy, this next whole sequence was the scariest thing I think I've ever seen in Star Wars. It was freaky. There's like all these mushrooms all around. And then off he goes again, the child. He's sort of like, you know, you can see he's smelling as well. I mean, the kid only thinks, always think with your stomach. Off he goes. They start to not look like mushrooms anymore. Well, for me, they didn't. Anyway, I started to think, wow, they look like eggs. And I started getting these sort of like Alien 1979 flashbacks. And then, true enough, he starts to open one. And it opened just like a xenomorph egg. Just like it. And inside it, there was a kind of spidery thing. I thought, oh my god, this is such a tribute to Alien. And he eats one. And then after that, the whole load of them around start opening. It's so freaky. And out pops these weird spiders. There's so many of them. And not just small ones. After that, medium-sized ones come. And then massive ones come, like giant, huge, with Raftar features. These were freaky spiders with big teeth. Off they go, he grabs the child, they run back to the Razor Crest. The frog creature turns from a biped to a quadruped and starts, like, you know, with CGI, starts bouncing along to go faster. They get inside the ship. There seems to be absolutely no way out. There's tons of these spiders. They're shooting web at them. It's horrible. They get into the cockpit. They still come in and they can't get rid of them. They sort of fight them off. And then the next thing is, just as they're absolutely surrounded, you can hear blaster fire from outside, and it's the X-Wing guys. Now, I can't make up my mind if the main blasts were from them. They seem to get rid of all these spiders, the two guys in the X-Wings from earlier. They find them again, and they get rid of all the spiders. Now, there was a hell of a lot of spiders. I don't know how they managed to get rid of them with 2 rifles. That doesn't make any sense unless they dropped something, some kind of a bomb, or they shot the big ones via the X-Wings, landed the X-Wings, and then fired the rest with their rifles. I just don't know. But that just didn't quite make sense how they could get rid of absolutely every single one of ththose spiders. There were thousands of them, you know. So anyway, they sort of make a little truce. They say, you know, can you confirm that you are the guy who broke... It harks back to that prison ship episode. They said, you broke out a prisoner. However, you incarcerated 3 others that we wanted, and you saved the life of Matt Lanter, the guy who was the officer. So he kind of says, well, you know, how about I forego the bounty on those guys if you fix my hull? And then they say, how about you fix your communications, or we incinerate you next time we see you or something. So they basically say, no, you're on your own. You're lucky enough that we're not arresting you as it is, I guess. Off they go. Then they obviously take off. They patch the ship up again. They take off, and they are literally stuck inside the cockpit. It's the only part that's pressurized. It was a crazy episode. I did say I wanted to mention The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back, right? I was getting tons of flashbacks for The Empire Strikes Back. The bit where I felt it the most was when they were walking, following where the frog had gone to. When the frog had gone into the hot thermal pool thing, I was thinking, why am I feeling The Empire Strikes Back here? I suppose, yeah, it was an ice planet, and in an ice cave, it might have Wampa connotations. However, it's not that. It's the fact that when I first watched The Empire, my biggest concern as a kid, I think, was the fact that you knew that Luke had crashed that X-Wing, and you think to yourself, he may never get off that planet. You know, he's stuck there. Same with these guys. They had crashed that ship, and it really does feel like they are marooned. There's no way out of there. It was just insane. I've never seen anything like it. So they really have moved it on. You could call this episode a filler, but I think that's a bit rude. That it was like you could. The truth is, not a lot happens, but loads does happen. If that makes sense, you know. They've only got as far as leaving Tatooine, and then they landed on another planet and crashed, and then they've just escaped out of there. But you just want to see what happens next. So it's fantastic. Get onto it. Get onto it. I hope you have enjoyed that. That's just my thoughts. Oh, the one thing that you thought you were going to see in that episode was the child. You really did think he was going to use the Force. There was absolutely, seemingly no way out. All those spiders were on top of them. And you just thought the child's going to have to step up here and do something, because, you know, he can deflect fire. We've seen him do some crazy stuff, you know, the mud horn, that situation. But he didn't. So that was another twist in a way. You think, my God, he's not doing anything. But, you know, obviously they did get out of there anyway. Alrighty, well, thank you very much for watching. If you are new around here, subscribe. If you've made it to the end of this, well done. Lots to come. I'm thinking I'd like to do a most valuable figures video soon. You know, I'll go around the room. I'm thinking about having a good old think about it. I might put a post-it note on every single card that I want to talk about and go around the room and do it that way. What do you think? Do you think that would work? Awesome. Thank you very much for watching. I have been Only One Kenobi. Only one.